Pie in the Sky Media. This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence throughout. Listener discretion is advised.
Alec was successful more not from his work ethic, but from his ability to establish relationships and to manipulate people into settlements and clients into liking him.
Welcome back to Criminal Mischief with Carolyn and Brandon. You're listening to episode 183, The Unravelling. It was a hot, humid evening, June 7th, 2021. A perfectly normal condition for summertime at the hunting lodge at 4147 Moselle Road. That's a pretty benign description and really doesn't cover what the Murdaugh family referred to as Moselle. Moselle was more than 1,700 acres of South Carolina's low country. And if you're unfamiliar with that term, low country, it's a description of the region's proximity to the Atlantic coast. But the term also encompasses a way of life there at sea level, a place dominated by salt marshes, coastal swamps, and tidal rivers. But also it speaks to its rich history, famous for seafood, and its unique culture. It might be easier to just say, imagine the backdrop of a typical Southern Gothic novel. And you're there at night. The moonlight illuminates the sort of creepy and yet beautiful silhouette of oak trees draped with Spanish moss. The quiet solitude of swamps, marshes, creeks, and the bountiful nature of that region.
Yeah, so the Moselle property is roughly 1,700 acres, and a lot of that is really not even accessible. It's a lot of swamplands, a lot of stuff that you just, no road systems or anything like that, but it's a big property. It's broken up into several different parcels that border each other, and we have 20 some odd deer stands, dove fields, duck ponds, just all over the property. So
what type of hunting did you and your brother and your father do at Moselle?
Everything: deer, duck, quail, dove, hogs.
You have a duck pond?
We have a duck pond.
Okay. And the hunting was, did you have a lot of friends come out and hunt as well?
Yes, sir.
That's Buster. His parents, Alec and Maggie, had owned the Moselle property since 2012, a place that had long been the perfect rural retreat for the Murdaugh family. Alec, Maggie, and their adult sons, Buster and Paul. Not to mention their vast network of family, friends, and business associates, which were many. So Maggie and Alec were married in the summer of 1993. The couple had met when they were both students at the University of South Carolina. Alec would, of course, go on to get his law degree and join the family business. And Maggie loved raising their two boys. Here's Maggie's older sister, Marianne.
Was Maggie a tomboy at all, or was she more of a girl's girl?
No, she was definitely a girl's girl, but she made the best of having two boys. She was right in there fishing, hunting. She didn't grow up doing that. We used to laugh that she'd get in the deer stand with her Southern Living magazine, and the boys would tell her she was making too much noise turning the pages. And then, fishing, she loved going out on the boat. She loved being at the beach. She loved going to the islands. I don't know that she really fished that much, but she just wanted to do what they were doing. She wanted to spend time with them.
No doubt having the opportunity to spend time with her 22-year-old son, Paul, is what had brought her down to the dog kennels that hot Monday night, June the 7th. This was after she, Paul, and Alec had had supper together. Alec decided not to join them because he wanted to take a nap, which was something he did after dinner. When he woke up, his wife and son weren't at the house, and he assumed that they were still at the kennel. He texted them both and let them know that he was going to drive up to visit his mother because it was a difficult time for the family. In fact, earlier that day, Alec had received the news that his father had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. Meanwhile, his mother had been suffering with Alzheimer's for quite a while. And with his father in the hospital, he wanted to go and comfort his mom. So he left Moselles that night shortly after 9 o'clock. Now, Alec never heard back. As I said, he had called and texted both Maggie and Paul multiple times, and they didn't respond, which really wasn't unusual because the service at Moselles in that rural area was spotty at best, especially around the dog kennels. But after visiting his mom, when he pulled back up to the house, he was surprised to see that his wife and son weren't home. It was around 10 p.m., and this just wasn't normal. So he drove his Suburban down to the dog kennels, which was just a couple minutes away. And it was just minutes later, at 10:06, when Alec made a devastating 911 call.
Hampton County 911, where's your emergency?
This is Alex Murdaugh at 4147 Moselle Road. I need the police to answer immediately. My wife and child just shot badly.
The recording is rough, but Alec just said his wife and son had been shot and that they were hurt badly.
Okay, and are they breathing?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and you said it's your wife and your son?
My wife and my son.
Are they in a vehicle?
No, ma'am. They're on the ground out at my kennel.
Okay, and did you see anyone?
He shot in the head, and he shot really bad. He shot.
Okay, where is he shot at?
Ma'am, I don't know, but there's blood everywhere. I see his brain face down. I tried to turn her a little bit, but she's got a hole in her head.
Okay, is he breathing at all?
No, nobody.
Do you see anyone in the area?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Is there any guns near them at all?
No, they're here.
What color is your house on the outside?
If that's what you're asking, they didn't shoot themselves, ma'am.
Okay, and what is your name?
My name is Alex Murdaugh.
Okay, did you hear anything, or did you come home and find them?
No, ma'am, I've been gone. I just came back.
Okay, and was anyone else supposed to be at your house?
No, ma'am. Please hurry.
First responders arrived at the kennels, and it was really bad. As bad as it could be. 52-year-old Maggie and their 22-year-old son Paul had been shot multiple times, point blank. Pretty much as soon as the first police officer arrived, Alec gave a theory as to who he suspected could be responsible for gunning down his family in cold blood.
Scene is secure. Got a Whiskey Fox, Whiskey Mike, both gunshot wounds to the head.
Sir, I want to let you know because of the scene, I did go get a gun and bring it down here.
It's in your vehicle? Do you have any
it's
guns on you at all?
No, sir. It's leaning up against the side of my car.
Okay. You're fine, man. You're fine. Turn around for me.
I don't have any.
Okay. Yes, sir. I see that. Okay. This is your wife and son?
And son.
Okay.
It's bad. It's bad. Check the pulses.
Yes, sir. This is the firearm you brought from inside the house?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I went and got. This is a long story. My son was in a boat wreck. He's been getting threats. Most of it's been benign stuff we didn't take serious.
Okay.
He's been getting punched. I know that's what it is.
Okay. When did you get home? Right when you called, or did you go to the house first? Where is the house?
I came to the house first. My mom has late stages Alzheimer's, and my dad is in the hospital.
Okay.
I left. I don't know what time. I can go back on my phone and tell you the exact times. Did you check?
Okay. Did I check what?
Did you check them?
We got medical guys that are. That's what they're gonna do. Okay.
What are they doing? Can they hurry?
They are. Yes, sir. That gentleman that was out here already. He's one of the battalion chiefs. Okay. How did you pull up? You from back there?
I went to the house and they weren't home, which was odd. I tried to call.
Okay.
And then I knew they had been down here before I left to go to my mom's.
Okay.
And so that is loaded.
Okay.
You might want to unload it. But
Is this the only firearm with you? This is the only one, or is there any more in the truck?
I believe that's it.
You think that's the only one? Okay.
I'm 99%.
Do you normally
certain that's
have any other firearms in your vehicle?
I don't, but
Okay.
occasionally there's a pistol in there.
Okay.
You checking right now? They are dead, aren't they?
Just turn on those.
Yes, sir. That's what it looks like.
Okay, the elephant in the room here. Investigators on scene, of course they knew the name of Alex Murdaugh. He was a successful lawyer, a part of a powerful legal dynasty in South Carolina. His great-grandfather, grandfather, and father served consecutively as the solicitor for South Carolina's 14th Judicial Circuit. Basically, they were the kind of family when they entered a room, most people knew who they were. Wealthy, powerful, and connected. But back at that crime scene at the kennels, when Alex said that his son Paul had been receiving threats, he was referring to a highly publicized boating accident in 2019. It was alleged a heavily intoxicated Paul had been behind the wheel of his father's boat, which had crashed into a bridge, and that one of the passengers, 19-year-old Mallory Beach, had been killed in the crash. Paul had been indicted on 3 counts of boating under the influence, causing death and great bodily injury. At the time he'd been shot, he was facing a maximum of 55 years in prison if he was convicted. He had pleaded not guilty and was awaiting trial, but there was also a pending civil lawsuit. Here's Buster, Paul's older brother.
February of 2019, your brother was in a boating accident, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Was he criminally charged eventually?
Yes, sir.
And what type of reaction was there to his involvement in the boating accident and his criminal charges sort of in the community in Hampton?
I would say a negative reaction in the community. The media spike kind of got going after it. There was a lot of articles in the media about our family and stuff like that. And
to your knowledge, was Paul being threatened or bullied on social media or anything like that?
Yeah, he was definitely being bullied on social media. Just people sending random messages, and I would talk to him. I know a lot of times he'd be walking down the sidewalk and a car comes by and they would yell some stuff at him. I knew he would go out in a bar and there's somebody that wants to talk about it and make a scuff about it.
What was your mother's reaction to all the negativity surrounding the boating accident?
It kind of consumed her. She's big on reading all of it, and when she read the negative stuff, it made her feel upset and whatnot, and it ultimately kind of caused her to distance herself from Hampton. At this time, primarily living at Moselle, she quit going to the grocery stores in Hampton, quit going to the pharmacy, quit going to get food in Hampton. Just thought that there was a real, kind of a bad vibe in Hampton. Like she felt like people were staring at her and talking about her and stuff.
And was your dad anxious about the lawsuit, to your knowledge?
He didn't appear to be overly anxious about it.
What took priority, the criminal case against Paul or the civil case?
The criminal case.
Did the family support Paul in the criminal matter?
Yes, sir.
And what do you mean by that?
I mean that supported him in his criminal case because, amongst the family, none of us thought that he was driving the boat. We thought he'd been...
At the time of the accident?
That's correct.
A heinous crime. The murder of a mother and her son. Of course, investigators began digging into the boating accident. Was this double homicide a revenge killing? Detectives also interviewed Alec that night.
Just start to talk, take your time.
Like when I came back here, I pulled up and I could see him, and, I knew something was bad. I ran out. I knew it was really bad. My boy over there, I could see it was...
I'm sorry.
And I could see his brain on... And I ran over to Maggie, and actually, I think I tried to turn Paul over first. I tried to turn him over, and I don't know, I figured it out. His cell phone popped out of his pocket. I started to try to do something with it, thinking maybe, but then I put it back down really quickly. Then I went to my wife, and I could see.
Did you touch Maggie at all?
I did. I touched them both.
Okay.
I tried to take, I tried to do it as limited as possible, but I tried to take their pulse on both of them. And, I called 911 pretty much right away.
Alec explained what had brought him to the kennel at that time of night, looking for his wife and son.
What made you come out here tonight?
I went to, my mom's a late-stage Alzheimer's patient. My dad's in the hospital. My mom gets anxious when she does. I went to check on them and Maggie. Maggie's a dog lover, and she fools with the dogs. And I knew she'd gone to the kennel. I was at the house. I left the house and went to my mom's for just a little while. Tried to call her when I left. Texted her, no response. When I got back to the house was obviously nobody was in there. So I figured they're still up here fooling around. Paul was gonna be getting set up to plant. Our sunflower seeds got sprayed and died, and he was refiguring to plant the sunflower seeds. So I came back up here and I drove up and saw and called.
Had Maggie and Paul been arguing over anything?
No.
What was their relationship like?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. How about yours and Maggie's?
Wonderful. I mean, I'm sure we had little things here and there, but we had a wonderful marriage, wonderful relationship.
And yours and Paul's relationship?
As good as it could be.
When asked about the motive for the murders, Alec again brought up the boating accident.
Have y'all been having any problems out here? Trespassers? People breaking in?
None that I know of. The only thing what comes to my mind is my son Paul was in a boat wreck a couple years ago. And there's been he was charged with being arrested for being the driver. There's been a lot of negative publicity about that, and there's been a lot of people online, just really vile stuff. But when Paul's out and about, people routinely, I don't think I know the full story, so I don't think they give it to me, but he's been punched and hit and just attacked a lot, so, but nothing like this.
Yeah. Any one person in particular or group of people?
I don't know.
That you could think of?
Not that I know, no, sir.
From the beginning of this extremely high-profile murder investigation, detectives had been able to rule out the surviving boat passengers from that accident as possible suspects. And a few days after the murders, detectives went back to Alec for a second voluntary interview, where he was asked to take them through that night again. Alec explained that after he got home from work at around 5:30, he and Paul took a drive around the Moselle property. They were preparing for a hunt that upcoming weekend, and they needed to get the property prepared. After that, father and son went home to have dinner with Maggie. Then Maggie and Paul went to the dog kennels, and Alec said multiple times he didn't go with them, that was the last time he saw them alive. Remember, according to Alec, he had stayed behind inside the house where he laid down, watched TV, and promptly fell asleep. When he woke up at around 9 p.m., he went to visit his mom. And he said he was there about 45 minutes. That he got home at around 10 p.m., and that when he didn't find Paul and Maggie at home, that's when he drove his Suburban to the kennels and found their bodies and dialed 911 at about 10:06. During this interview, the investigator asked Alec about his clothes. If you'll recall, Alec said he'd went around the property that evening with Paul before dinner. And apparently it was during this time, Paul had taken a short video of his dad in front of a tree and then posted that on Snapchat. And in this video, Alec was wearing long khaki pants and a dress shirt. But when police arrived at the crime scene that night, Alec had been wearing shorts and a white t-shirt. When asked about the discrepancy, Alex claimed that he couldn't remember exactly when he changed his clothes, but assumed it was sometime after he got home from scouting the property with Paul. So this second interview took place on June 10th, 3 days after the murders. And it was on this same day, June 10th, that Alex's father passed away. That weekend, the family had 3 funerals for Maggie, Paul, and Alec's dad. On June 25th, Alec and his surviving son, Buster, offered a $100,000 reward for any tip that would lead to the arrest and conviction of Maggie and Paul's killer or killers. But nothing came of it. Meantime, as far as investigators were concerned, Alec was still the primary suspect. Because in doing their due diligence, digging deeper into the family, instead of clearing Alec, things got murkier. In 2018, the family's longtime housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield, had died after an alleged trip and fall at the Murdaugh's home. There was a settlement, and it was revealed that Alec and 2 co-conspirators had pocketed the lion's share of the $4.3 million wrongful death insurance settlement, a majority of which should have gone to her sons. Detectives also learned that Alec was being investigated by his own law firm for financial misconduct. In fact, the day of the murders, the CFO had confronted Alec about missing money.
Went to look for Alec, and when I got upstairs, he was standing outside of his office leaning on a file cabinet, and he looked at me with a pretty dirty look, one I'd not seen before, and said, "What do you need now?" Clearly disgusted with me, which kind of raised my hackles. So I said, "Well, let's go in your office and talk about it." We went in his office. I told him, I said, "I have reason to believe that you received the fairest money directly to you, and you need to prove to me that you did not."
They also learned that there was a lot of pressure on Alec for that pending civil wrongful death lawsuit related to Paul's boating accident. For the past 2 years, the plaintiff's attorney had repeatedly requested Alec's financial records, something he'd been dodging. And by June 2021, things had come to a head. Both parties were scheduled to appear at a hearing on June 10th, where Alec knew he'd most likely be compelled to turn over his financial records, and in doing so, reveal all of his dark and terrible secrets. That for more than a decade, he'd been stealing money from his firm and clients of more than $10 million. In August of 2021, Alec had a third voluntary interview with investigators where they confirmed to him that he was still their primary suspect. He hadn't been eliminated.
And I've told Alec this when we first met. Any homicide investigation, you start with the closest person and or the person who found the deceased. Both cases, that's Alec. Everybody stays in that investigation until we can get them out. And right now, because of the questions that I have that I need explanations for, I cannot get Alec out.
And he continued to stick to his story, even after he was confronted by audio that had been retrieved from Paul's cell phone. Now, this audio had been recorded at the dog kennels just minutes before the estimated time of the murders, which was at 8:50.
Yes, sir, I did. The video looks like inside maybe a kennel area with a fence around it and a dog, I believe to be a lab, where he's trying to take a video of the tail of the dog.
And that's what you see in that video.
Yes, sir.
What do you hear in the video?
You hear 3 different voices in the video. You can tell because they're so different, you can tell that they're different voices.
Okay. Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth. Bubba.
Hey, Bubba.
That's a guinea.
You'll record it again, Lieutenant Dove?
The camera begins at 8:44:49 p.m.
And ends when?
At 8:45:47 p.m.
Remember, Alec had claimed that he never went to the kennels after dinner with Paul and Maggie that night. that he stayed behind and had fallen asleep, then went to visit his mother. And even after hearing the video, hearing the voice that sounded like Alex Murdaugh, he denied it was him, saying he had no idea who it was. And there were his clothes. Remember, Alec had been seen in that Snapchat video Paul had posted wearing long khaki pants and a dress shirt standing next to a tree. But when police arrived after that 911 call brought them to the murder scene, Alec had been wearing shorts and a white t-shirt. And by then, investigators had interviewed Alec's mother's caregiver, who had been there the night that Alex showed up. And she told police that he'd only been at his mother's house for like 15 or 20 minutes, not the 45, as he claimed. And it was during this third and final interview that Alec was asked point blank if he had murdered his wife and son.
We may honestly never know who was first, but I think it was Paul, for the simple fact he wouldn't have, if he saw his mother getting shot, he wouldn't have run to that feed ring. Unless that's where one of the guns was. But, we've already established family guns were used.
Thank you, man.
I just saw a few more questions.
Okay.
Did you kill Maggie?
Did I kill my wife?
Yes, sir.
No, David.
Do you know who did?
No, I do not know who did.
Did you kill Paul?
No, I did not kill Paul.
Do you know who did?
No, sir, I do not know who did. Do you think I killed Maggie?
I have to go where the evidence and the facts
I
take me.
understand that. And you think I killed Paul?
I have to go where the evidence and the facts take me. And I don't have anything that points to anybody else at this time.
So does that mean that I am a suspect?
You were still in, like I told Corey earlier, you were still in this. With everything that we've talked about, with the family guns, the ammunition, nobody else's DNA, I have to put my beliefs aside and go with the facts.
That day, Alec walked out of that interview, but his life was still unraveling. In early September, Alec's law firm uncovered the full extent of his fraud. Not only did they confront him, but they forced him into resigning, and they also contacted law enforcement about his alleged financial crimes. The next day, Alex Murdaugh once again called 911 for help. This time, he was the one who had been shot.
Hampton County 911 was an emergency. I got a flat tire, and I stopped, and somebody stopped to help me. And when I turned my back, they tried to shoot me. Oh, okay. Were you shot? Yes, but I mean, I'm okay. You shot where? Where were you shot at? Huh? Did they actually shoot you or they tried to shoot you? They shot me, but... okay, wait, you need EMS? Well, I mean, yes, I can't drive. Okay. And I'm bleeding a lot. Where part of your body? I'm not sure. Somewhere on my head. Your head? Somewhere on my head. Okay, and what's your name? I'm still here. I'm still on the line with you. What's your name? Alex Murdaugh. Okay. And can you give me a description of the person that shot you or shot at you? Yes, ma'am. I mean, there was a white fella. I'd say a white male, a fair amount younger than me. Really, really short hair. You have an ambulance coming in? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Alec was airlifted to a hospital where he was treated for a minor head injury. But a week later, in a bizarre turn of events, he would confess that he actually hired his alleged former drug dealer to assassinate him in an assisted suicide so that his son Buster could collect a $10 million insurance payout. But his web of lies continued to unravel. Alec admitted to his 20-year drug addiction and entered rehab. Meantime, the investigations continued. He would be charged with insurance fraud and filing a false police report for attempting to arrange his own death. He turned himself into authorities on September 16, 2021. In October, he would be arraigned for some of the alleged charges related to financial crimes, which would ultimately snowball into state and federal grand jury indictments that revealed he'd stolen nearly $11 million from his clients and partners over a 15-year period. And the question became, had Alex Murdaugh annihilated his family as a desperate ploy to buy himself sympathy and time to stall a total financial collapse and stave off criminal charges related to that fraud? That's what the prosecution believed. And on July 14th, 2022, Alex Murdaugh was indicted for the murders of Maggie and Paul. He pleaded not guilty. His double murder trial began on January 23rd, 2023. Now, the lead prosecutor, Creighton Waters, laid out the state's case in his opening statement that Alex murdered his wife and son to distract from a perfect storm. That the day of June 7th, he'd been asked by the CFO of his law firm if he'd been stealing money. And then there was the pending civil lawsuit related to the boat fatality, which would expose his financial crimes. And that by killing his family, he'd gain sympathy and buy time. The prosecution believed that Paul had been shot first with a 12-gauge shotgun in the shoulder. After that, another shot to the head. They theorized that Alex picked up an AR-style rifle and then pointed it at his wife, Maggie. 2 shots to the abdomen and leg took her down. During the trial, the prosecution played that video filmed on Paul's phone at 8:44, which placed Alex at the kennels with the victims minutes before they were murdered at around 8:50, contradicting Alex's alibi that he wasn't there. Now, in this video, you can hear Paul's voice, then Maggie's, and then a third voice.
Get up. Get up. Quit, Cash. Quit. It's okay. Come on. Come on, Cash. Hey, he's got burners now. Hey, Bubba. It's a guinea. This is a chicken. Come on, Cash. Quit.
Many close to the family testified that that voice belonged to one person, Alex, even though he denied being there, had been denying it since August 2021. Something Alex walked back because he testified, saying it was him, but that he'd left immediately after and was back at the house when the murders took place, even though he didn't hear any gunshots that night. Another thing, Maggie and Paul were killed using 2 separate firearms. Paul had been shot with a shotgun, Maggie with a .300 blackout rifle. The murder weapons were never recovered. However, the prosecution presented evidence that both firearms matched the exact makes, models, and ammunition types of weapons previously purchased by the Murdaugh family to use on the property. And then Alex's digital footprint. His cell phone data showed that he'd been inactive until 9:02 to 9:06, where he called and texted both Paul and Maggie. The prosecution asserted that he did this to establish an alibi. Data from his Suburban showed that he left Moselle's for his mother at 9:07 p.m. And also, the family's housekeeper, Blanca, testified that Alex Murdaugh later had tried to pressure her to say that he was wearing something different than what she recalled him wearing on June 7th.
Had a pair of khaki pants, greenish, I call it seafoam color, polo shirt, and he put a sports coat, a blue sports coat over it. And he put his shoes on, which were usually right there next to a dresser that they had right there in the living room area. That's where his shoes used to go, right there. So he just used to kind of slide his shoes on his way out the door.
Do you remember what type of shoes he had on June 7th, 2021, when he left?
His regular work shoes, the brown. There was a pair of brown leather shoes.
Was it a long sleeve shirt or a short sleeve shirt he left on?
The polo's a short sleeve shirt.
And staying out of everybody's view, do you remember anything specifically about that shirt?
as he put his coat on, he was putting his shoes on, and he was putting his coat on, and he was getting ready to walk out. He turned around, and I said, Alec, I said, hold on a minute. I said, your collar's sticking up. So he turned around, and I fixed his collar inside his jacket because one collar was sticking up.
So you actually helped, I'm sorry, but you helped move his shirt?
Yeah, yes, I did.
And you said it was after June 7th of 2021, did you ever see that shirt again?
No, sir. There was like a pink one, a white one, a baby blue in the closet. I do not remember that shirt being in there.
And on June 8th of 2021, in the morning hours when you came back over there, was that shirt there?
No, sir.
Were these shoes that you called house slippers, were those there?
No, sir.
Did you ever see those house shoes again?
No, sir.
And where did he usually keep them?
In the closet. There's a video. There was a video that was out. I hadn't seen a video. And he said, you remember the shirt I was wearing, that Vinnie Vines shirt? That's what he said to me. And in my mind, I was saying, I don't remember a Vinnie Vines shirt. It was the polo shirt. But I didn't mention, he said, well, you know what, I was wearing that shirt. He said, you know, in the, that day. And still, I was just, I didn't say anything, but I was kind of thrown back because I don't remember that. I don't remember him wearing that shirt that day when he left. I know what shirt he was wearing because I fixed the collar, and the collar's a different material.
Have you ever seen that shirt again?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
Have you ever seen these shoes again that he's wearing here?
No, sir.
Maggie's sister, Marianne, testified that she felt it was strange that Alec didn't appear afraid after the murders because the rest of the family felt like they could be targets.
He said that his number one goal was clearing Paul's name. And I thought that was so strange because my number one goal was to find out who killed my sister and Paul.
But that wasn't Alex's concern, main concern?
I know he must have wanted that too, but it just, I don't know how he could have thought about anything else.
He talked about the boat case. Did he ever act scared or afraid that the real killers were out there somewhere or anything like that, or was he concerned with the boat case?
We were afraid. We didn't know what was going on. My family was scared. I was scared for Alec and Buster. I felt like they needed protection. I think everybody was afraid, and Alec didn't seem to be afraid.
Marianne also testified that her sister, Maggie, had only gone to Moselle's that night because Alex had specifically asked her to be there.
You encouraged her to go to Moselle?
I did.
Was that the last time you talked to her?
Yes.
Maggie had been staying at their beach house about 60 miles away, but that because of Alex's dad's terminal diagnosis, he'd asked her to come to Moselle's to go with him to see his dad. Something Blanca, the family's housekeeper, also testified to.
We had another conversation on the phone. She told me, she said, Alec wants me to come home. And she kind of sounded like she didn't want to come home because she really liked being at Edisto. And they had a lot of work that was going on, and she was trying to make sure everything was ready for the 4th of July gathering that she was planning. So she was very detail orientated, so she wanted everything perfect. So she was she sounded like she was a little disappointed. And then she said, well, Alec asked Paul to come home too because he's got to fix the mess up out there that CB had done.
That CB Road?
Yes, sir. And he said Alec had told Paul to come and fix it because they were planning on having a hunt that weekend, so he wanted everything ready and good to go.
So he'd asked
Maggie to come, and then he had asked Alex to come.
That's what Maggie,
Paul to come.
Paul, that's what Maggie told me over the phone.
The defense vigorously defended their client, saying that there was absolutely no direct physical evidence tying Alec to the murders. And what was the motive? Would he really murder his family over his financial crimes in a bid to buy time and sympathy? The defense also hammered on a rush to judgment and a botched investigation. No fingerprints had been collected at the scene, and they alleged that the crime scene hadn't been properly preserved and that the main house hadn't even been processed. For example, the shower drains weren't tested for blood or tissue to prove or disprove whether he'd taken a shower that night or not, to wash away evidence. And the defense tried to minimize the lie about him being there at the kennel. It wasn't evidence that he killed his wife and son. On the stand, Alex Murdaugh testified that he lied because of his drug addiction had made him paranoid, that he was taking 60 pills a day and wasn't thinking clearly, that he panicked. And when he gave a new account on the stand, he basically said he'd driven a golf cart to the kennels after all, met up with Paul and Maggie briefly, long enough to have been there to take the chicken out of Bubba's mouth, and then went back up to the main house, where he laid down, dozed off for a few moments, didn't hear any gunshots, and went to visit his mom a few minutes later. After a 6-week trial, the jury was given the case. Within 3 hours, they had a verdict. Guilty on all charges. Alex Murdaugh was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms in prison. Roughly 6 months after that, Alex pleaded guilty to dozens of federal financial crimes and was sentenced to 40 years in a federal prison. He also pleaded guilty for dozens of state-level financial crimes and was sentenced to an additional 27-year state prison sentence. But if you're thinking this is over, think again. Last week, in a shocking turn of events, a South Carolina Supreme Court threw out Alex Murdaugh's murder convictions. It was a unanimous 5-0 decision. The basis of Alex Murdaugh's appeal to the High Court was jury interference. His lawyers alleged that court clerk Rebecca Hill had unfairly biased the jury. And the court agreed. It was the court's opinion that the clerk, quote, egregiously attacked Murdaugh's credibility and his defense, thus triggering the presumption of prejudice. The Supreme Court also explicitly noted that the trial judge had allowed excessive and overly deep financial testimony into the murder trial, which created a danger of unfair prejudice. Even so, 57-year-old Alex Murdaugh isn't a free man. He remains behind bars under those concurrent sentences of 40 years in federal prison and 27 years in state. However, South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson said his office will aggressively seek to retry Alex Murdaugh for the murders as soon as possible. Now, up next on Criminal Mischief bonus content, my co-host Brandon Morgan and I will discuss the latest in this case in more detail. And as always, thanks for listening.